The Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous unidentified serial killers in American history, active primarily in Northern California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The case remains open, unsolved, and a subject of intense public fascination. His cryptic letters and mocking tone cemented his place in criminal lore. The mystery around his identity continues to draw global attention. The Zodiac's first confirmed attack occurred on December 20, 1968, when high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were shot and killed on Lake Herman Road near Benicia, California. The crime shocked the quiet suburban area. Ballistics linked it to later Zodiac shootings. The Zodiac's method involved attacking couples in secluded areas. His use of firearms and later, a knife, showed both planning and brutality. He appeared to enjoy instilling fear. His attacks were unpredictable, but ritualistic. On July 4, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were shot in Vallejo. Mageau survived, offering one of the only first-hand descriptions of the attacker. He described a stocky white male. The attack was later linked to the Zodiac via letter. Shortly after the Blue Rock Springs attack, someone claiming responsibility called the police from a payphone, describing the crime scene and confessing. The call was traced to a location near the Vallejo police station. It added credibility to his claim of responsibility. On August 1, 1969, 3 nearly identical letters were sent to the San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Vallejo Times-Herald. Each contained 1/3 of a 408 symbol cipher. He demanded publication or threatened more violence. His writing style was both formal and erratic. In one of his letters, the killer demanded his ciphers be printed on the front page, or he would kill again. He signed off as Zodiac, the first use of that name. He also included his now famous crosshair symbol. The moniker became part of the case's identity. The first cipher, 408 characters, was cracked by a high school teacher and his wife. It revealed a disturbing message but no identity. The message spoke of killing as a source of pleasure. The killer claimed he would be reborn in paradise. On September 27, 1969, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were attacked at Lake Berryessa. The killer wore an executioner-style hood and stabbed both victims. Hartnell survived the brutal assault. The killer announced himself as Zodiac before the attack. Before leaving, the Zodiac wrote dates of previous murders on Hartnell's car, along with the symbol of a circle and crosshairs. He used a black marker to scrawl the message. The writing included the date and location of the current attack. On October 11, 1969, cab driver Paul Stine was shot in San Francisco's Presidio Heights. This marked a shift. The Zodiac killed in an urban setting. Stine was shot in the head. The killer took a piece of his shirt as a trophy. Police were mistakenly looking for a black suspect, allowing the Zodiac, who was white, to walk away, possibly even after interacting with officers. A dispatcher had relayed incorrect information. The mistake cost investigators a potential capture. He sent part of Stine's bloody shirt to the Chronicle as proof, taunting police and threatening to kill schoolchildren. This escalation alarmed authorities. It caused a brief panic in San Francisco schools. The case captured national attention. Newspapers published Zodiac's letters, and the killer became a media sensation. Radio shows discussed his messages daily. TV anchors covered new developments extensively. Between 1969 and 1974, the Zodiac sent more than a dozen letters to newspapers and law enforcement, full of threats, codes, and riddles. He claimed responsibility for up to 37 murders. Some letters contained bizarre humor and references. Despite intensive efforts by multiple police departments and the FBI, the Zodiac evaded capture. Investigators interviewed hundreds of suspects. Physical evidence was limited and inconclusive. A sketch was made based on eyewitnesses who saw the Zodiac after Paul Stine's murder, but it yielded no solid leads. The image depicted a man in glasses with a round face. Flyers were distributed widely across the Bay Area. The Zodiac sent increasingly complex ciphers. The 340-character cipher remained unsolved until 2020. Some codes included symbols never seen before. Others were simplistic but misleading. In December 2020, a team of amateur codebreakers cracked the 340-character cipher. It referenced paradise and denied the killer's identity was in the code. The solution provided no new leads. It did confirm Zodiac's authorship. The Zodiac used a symbol of a circle with a cross through it, resembling a gun sight or astronomical symbol. He included it in almost every letter. It became his brand of terror. Allen was the primary suspect for decades. He matched some details, but no conclusive evidence ever tied him to the crimes. A search of his home found suspicious items. Handwriting and DNA did not match. Allen was a convicted child molester with odd behaviors and some circumstantial links, including a watch labeled Zodiac. He reportedly talked about killing people. Some acquaintances said he fit the Zodiac's persona. DNA testing on the stamps and envelopes has been inconclusive or contaminated, complicating modern efforts to identify the killer. Saliva samples were partial or degraded. Familial DNA comparisons have yet to yield results. Some letters were later deemed hoaxes. Not all post-1974 communications were believed to be from the real Zodiac. Certain phrases lacked the original's linguistic quirks. Others referenced crimes with no Zodiac link. One short cipher began with, "My name is," but it remains unsolved, possibly due to lack of consistent cipher rules. It's considered too short to crack reliably. It may have been intentionally deceptive. Hundreds of theories and suspects have been proposed, ranging from criminal profilers to amateur sleuths. Some claim the Zodiac was a group, not one man. Others suspect he had ties to law enforcement. The Zodiac case has been dramatized in films, documentaries, and novels. David Fincher's 2007 film Zodiac reignited public interest. The killer's mystique has inspired fictional villains. Books about the case remain bestsellers. Critics say jurisdictional fragmentation hindered the investigation. Information was not always shared efficiently between agencies. Rivalries existed between departments. Leads were sometimes lost or mishandled. Zodiac sent a letter to celebrity attorney Melvin Belli, pleading for help and claiming to be ill. The tone was different, more desperate and human. It referenced a need for psychiatric help. Zodiac clearly enjoyed the attention and manipulation. His letters often belittled police efforts and flaunted his perceived superiority. He compared himself to executioners. He mocked police for failing to catch him. By 1974, communications from the Zodiac stopped. Whether he died, was imprisoned, or chose to stop is unknown. His silence created more speculation. Copycats emerged in the years that followed. As of today, the case is still open in several jurisdictions, including San Francisco and Napa counties. Law enforcement receives tips regularly. Cold case units occasionally re-examine the evidence. Physical evidence was limited. Bullets, shell casings, and some partial fingerprints were collected. Items were not always preserved well. Chain of custody issues further complicated matters. Experts believe the Zodiac was intelligent, narcissistic, and deeply antisocial, possibly a sociopath or psychopath. He may have had a superiority complex. Some believe he had paranoid delusions. New techniques like familial DNA and genealogy may one day crack the case, as they did with the Golden State Killer. Technology is improving yearly. Cold cases are being solved decades later. Though handwriting was compared between suspects and Zodiac letters, results were inconclusive or contradictory. Analysts disagreed over matches. The killer may have disguised his writing. One particularly creepy letter included a Halloween card sent to journalist Paul Avery, hinting at a connection to other murders. It contained a cryptic message. Avery began investigating possible links. The killer's obsession with publicity was unusual for serial killers, making him a media pioneer of criminal self-branding. He controlled the narrative. His legend grew with every new letter. Some theorize that Zodiac may be linked to Donna Lass's disappearance near Lake Tahoe, but evidence is scant. A postcard hinted at the location. The case remains unsolved and speculative. Due to his codes and use of terminology, some speculate Zodiac had military training or a technical background. His letters had references to bombs and construction. He demonstrated knowledge of police procedures. There are no confirmed Zodiac murders after 1969. Whether he killed before or after the known spree remains a mystery. Some believe he moved or changed tactics. Others think he was institutionalized. Zodiac letters varied in tone, some playful, others menacing. All reflected a need to control the narrative. He would often include puzzles. He seemed to enjoy misleading authorities. In 1974, the Zodiac sent a letter referencing the movie The Exorcist, mocking the idea that he had stopped killing. It was among his last known writings. He called the film the best satirical comedy. The case suffered from public hysteria, tip overload, and a lack of centralized databases in its early years. Jurisdictions didn't communicate effectively. The Zodiac played on this confusion. The Zodiac case helped underscore the need for interagency cooperation, which later became standard in major crimes. It led to better evidence sharing. Centralized systems like VICAP emerged later. Thousands of people around the world still pore over evidence, ciphers, and theories, hoping to unmask the Zodiac. Online forums keep theories alive. New books are published nearly every year. The Zodiac left behind more than victims. He created a legend, a cultural icon of true crime, and a chilling reminder of an evil never brought to justice. His story still haunts the American psyche. The mystery remains a powerful lure. Several individuals have been suspected of being the real Zodiac Killer over the decades, but none have been definitively proven guilty. Here's a detailed look at some of the most prominent suspects, along with the evidence for and against them. Arthur Lee Allen, the most notorious suspect. Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester from Vallejo, California, has long been the prime suspect in the Zodiac case. He was first interviewed by police in 1971 and remained under suspicion until his death in 1992. Evidence for Allen owned a Zodiac brand wristwatch, which bore the same crosshair symbol used by the killer. He had discussed the idea of killing people and using a flashlight taped to a gun, a method similar to that used in the Lake Herman Road murders. His home was searched twice, and investigators found disturbing writings and bomb-making materials. A friend reported that Allen once referred to himself as Zodiac, before the public even knew the name. Evidence against his handwriting did not match the Zodiac letters. DNA and fingerprints taken from letters didn't match his. He had alibis for some of the murders. Despite intense surveillance and investigation, no direct link was ever established. Gary Francis Post, a recent contender. In 2021, a group of independent investigators called the Casebreakers claimed that Gary Francis Post, a deceased Air Force veteran and house painter, was the Zodiac. Evidence for they allege that removing letters from Zodiac's ciphers reveals Post's name. Old photos of Post supposedly show scars similar to those described by eyewitnesses. Some who knew Post claimed he bragged about the killings and led a criminal crew in the 1970s. Evidence against the FBI and San Francisco Police Department do not recognize Post as a suspect. The cipher solution linking his name is widely disputed by cryptography experts. No forensic evidence ties him to the crime scenes. Richard Gaikowski, the journalist theory. Richard Gaikowski was a newspaper editor in San Francisco during the Zodiac spree and was investigated by one of the leading amateur sleuths, Tom Voigt. Evidence for Gaikowski's appearance was similar to police sketches. His voice allegedly matched that of the Zodiac caller, according to surviving victim Michael Majot. He had ties to counterculture movements and anti-police rhetoric, similar to the Zodiac's attitude. Evidence against. There is no physical evidence linking him to the crimes. He was never formally charged or arrested. His handwriting did not definitively match Zodiac's. Ross Sullivan. The Library Connection. Ross Sullivan worked at Riverside City College, where a student named Cherry Joe Bates was murdered in 1966. A case some believe was the Zodiac's first. Evidence for he resembled police sketches. He disappeared from work after Bates's murder. He had a history of mental illness and wore military-style boots, matching shoe prints at some scenes. Evidence against the Riverside Police Department does not believe Bates's murder is connected to the Zodiac. There's no confirmed evidence placing Sullivan at any Zodiac crime scene. No handwriting or DNA match. Lawrence Kane, the memory loss suspect. Kane was identified by a possible Zodiac victim, Kathleen Johns, and was suspected by several Zodiac theorists. Evidence for he lived near some of the crime scenes and had a background in cryptography from his military service. He had brain damage from a 1962 car accident, leading to erratic behavior. His physical appearance matched some witness descriptions. Evidence against no direct physical evidence linked him to any Zodiac attack. Some theorist claims rely heavily on circumstantial data and inference. His fingerprints didn't match those from Zodiac letters. Other theories and fringe suspects. There have been countless other suspects, some suggested by amateur sleuths, others named by law enforcement. Some theories even suggest the Zodiac was two people working together, or that he was never just one person at all. Why no one was caught forensics at the time were limited. Jurisdictional issues created communication barriers between police departments. The Zodiac was careful, used ciphers, and possibly changed his tactics frequently. Despite decades of investigation, no suspect has ever been definitively proven to be the Zodiac Killer. Allen, Post, Gaikowski, Sullivan, and Kane each have tantalizing clues tied to them, but no smoking gun. As forensic technology improves and public interest remains high, some still believe the case may one day be solved. But for now, the Zodiac remains an enigma.